So many entrepreneurs struggle to consistently enroll clients because they don't have a reliable sales and follow-up system in place. And those who do have a system are not always using the feminine power of connection to really be effective. They spend a lot of time, energy, and money creating the perfect website, developing programs and packages, running Facebook ads, but they're not getting the results they desire because they're not following up. If you are an entrepreneur, you know how important this is. And that's why today we'll talk about feminine follow-up, how to have more flow, more clients, and more abundance.
Grow your wealth, live on your terms.
Hello, powerful people. Welcome to the Conversations with Experts, the show that connects you with experts in different areas of life. Our intention is to help you be your best self and create your best rich life. I'm Millen Livis, the host of the show and international holistic financial independence mentor. If you love the idea of financial independence and freedom of choice, if you want to work because you want to, not because you have to, and not worry about money in your 60s, 70s, or 80s, then you've got to plan your way to financial independence. So I invite you to start by downloading my Wealth Planner for free. And here's the link to the Wealth Planner. And work your way through it right away. And if you want to have access to the upcoming free trainings and real-time support, join my free Facebook group, Wealth Building for Powerful Women. And here's the link for this group. All right. So now we are back to our topic today, which is how to have more flow, more clients, and more abundance by practicing feminine follow-up. And my amazing guest today is Debbie Hoffman. Welcome, Debbie.
Great Hello, Millen. It's so wonderful to be here with you.
Yes, and I'm very excited about the topic that we're going to have today because I know it will help so many people with their businesses. So before we dive into all the content, which I can't wait to dive into, let me introduce you to our listeners. Debbie Hoffman is a heart-centered sales and follow-up expert, speaker, and founder of Power Up Your Follow-Up business venture. She works with relationship-driven entrepreneurs, coaches, and network marketers who are letting potential clients and income slip through the cracks because they don't have a reliable sales and follow-up system in place. After 20 years of working on Wall Street as a managing director, Debbie took her organizational skills and created multiple six-figure business. In addition, Debbie is a super successful network marketer and best-selling author. Her new book that highlights her proven follow-up system is due out in 2022. Welcome again, Debbie. Very, very happy to have you with us.
Thank you. It's really wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I always have a lot of questions to the guests that we have because I want to get the most value for our audience. But I would like to start with my foundational question. What inspired you to start this business, and how did you get to doing the work that you're doing now in the world?
Well, as the story goes, I worked on Wall Street, was super successful there, and decided to retire early to be a mom. So I came home to be with my family, and I thought everything was going to be fine, but the real estate market crashed, and my husband was a high-end custom home builder, and we lost everything. Bankruptcy, foreclosure, it was a disaster. And obviously, it threw me into a depression, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And at the time, I had a health and wellness business, and I decided I was going to go to networking events and try to rebuild my life. But I came across in that salesy, pushy, aggressive Wall Street way that worked really well there, that didn't work well in the entrepreneurial world. And I kept hitting my head against the wall and didn't have I just didn't know what was going on. And one day I had like that aha moment, and I realized that I was going about it all wrong. I needed to show up in service to people, see how I could support them, let go of my agenda and attachment to having this person become a client, and just help them and support them. And everything started to shift, Millen. And I started my coaching practice and went from 0 to 6 figures in 14 months with a heart-centered, showing up in service type, approach. And the reason I'm so passionate about doing this and teaching people follow-up in sales is because I came this close to selling out on my dream of being an entrepreneur and getting a job. And that would have robbed me of my happiness, my spirit and happiness. And I never want anyone to have to choose between money and happiness. And follow-up is the missing piece for most entrepreneurs. They're not taught sales and follow-up skills. And this can make or break one's business. So I realized once I figured this out, I had to share this with people. And a friend said to me, I was following up with this woman, and she said, Debbie, you're amazing at follow-up. You've got to teach people this. And I was like, what are you talking about? And that's kind of how it happened. She inspired me and made me realize that I had a gift, and most people really struggle with this. And so I've been able to help hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs, and it's just such a joy to be able to make that kind of impact on people's lives, because I'm helping people get their message out in a bigger way and making more of an impact.
I love this story. It's very inspiring. And I think it was a Jan Levan, but also many other personal development gurus keep saying that if you want to be successful, you've got to make other people success. You've got to help other people to succeed first. And I know personally, and I know from my clients as well, that selling and follow-up are essential in success of any business. So my next question is, what would be, could you pinpoint the biggest challenges that you see among entrepreneurs? Why so many struggle with sales and follow-up? What exactly is going on?
Well, there's so many challenges that I see that entrepreneurs face, but I've kind of boiled them down into 4 categories. There's so many more. But the first thing, and this is what people say to me, they just wing it. They're not prepared for an enrollment conversation with a potential client. They're not prepared when they go networking. They just don't prepare. They just totally wing it. The second thing I see or I hear a lot is that people don't have a system in place. They're not organized. They don't have a step-by-step process. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. So then they lack the confidence, and then they don't pick up the phone or call people. They just don't even do it because they don't know what to do. The third area that I see that entrepreneurs are really challenged with is the inner game piece, the limiting beliefs, the fears, the stories that they make up about follow-up and about people they're following up with. Lots and lots of people are struggling with fear of rejection and they don't want to be salesy or pushy, and they just don't know how to follow up in a way that's not salesy or pushy. And then the fourth area that I see as a big challenge for entrepreneurs, and this isn't even on their radar screen, is asking their clients for referrals. Like hardly anybody is consistently asking their clients for referrals. I ask whenever I speak for people to just raise their hand if they consistently ask their clients for referrals, and hardly anyone's hand ever goes up. So those are like the 4 key areas. There's lots of other areas where they struggle, but those are probably the 4 key areas.
Thank you. They're very, very essential. Like everything that you said just really resonated with me as well. So we don't have a lot of time today, but let's briefly unpack these challenges. So when you talk about entrepreneurs not being prepared, so what exactly are you referring to?
Well, I'll share one example because they're not prepared in so many parts of their business, but I find that when people go to network, either online or in person, they're not prepared like with what they're going to say when people ask what they do. And so what happens is they host people down. I'm sure you've had this happen to you. You ask somebody, so what do you do? And like 5 minutes later, they're still talking and you're like, get me out of here, right? So preparing for what you're going to say and that it's impactful, and you want to have people lean in instead of repelling them. So that's a key area. And also people tell me when they're like if they're a coach and they're having a discovery session, for instance, with a potential client, they don't have a plan or a process in place. Like they're not prepared with questions they're going to ask. They just kind of go with the flow. And because of that, their conversion is really low. So those are two areas that I'm finding that people are not prepared.
Very good points. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing them. Okay, how about the most common limiting belief that is stopping people from following up?
The salesy pushy thing is the one I hear the most. People feel that follow-up and sales equals being salesy and pushy, especially the spiritual or, entrepreneur healers. They have a real hard time with this. And I really want to invite your audience, your listeners, to have a mindset shift here, because follow-up is all about building relationships. And when you have a system in place that helps you to be consistently in touch with people, you're going to build a deeper connection and trust, and they're going to fall in love with you and want to work with you. So it's actually the opposite of what people think, because when I follow up with people, they thank me for following up because I'm showing up in service. I'm not coming across trying to sell them, right? I'm not trying to get them to become a client. I'm showing up in service to them, and no one's calling, no one's following up with people anymore, hardly anyone. And so when I do, I rise above everyone else, right? So there is a way to follow up that feels compelling, that's building connection instead of being salesy and repelling. But it has to do with asking for permission and showing up in service.
Super important issue that you just described. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation. And I hope a lot of people, entrepreneurs, actually hear us out, because it's so important. It can make or break your business, literally. So when you talk about being organized and having systems in place, can you tell us more about what exactly that looks like, having systems in place?
Well, when I talk about systems, I'm talking about two different things. The first one is having the technology in place to keep track of all the people you're following up with. And it's called a CRM, a customer relationship management system. And it helps you store everybody's contacts, keep notes in there. And the key is you can set reminders for the next follow-up from there, because if you don't have that in place, like if you have Excel spreadsheets or notepads or business cards from the past all over your desk, that's not a system. Like you can't keep track of all these people.
I agree. I just want to ask you a follow-up question on this answer. Which CRM do you use, and which one you recommend? Maybe you use different one than you recommend.
Right. I don't recommend the one I'm using. And it's hard to just give a blanket recommendation. I've vetted a whole bunch of different CRMs and they're on my website, but it depends on what people's technological capabilities are. And it depends on what they're going to use it for. A very, very simple, easy to use one that's affordable when you're just starting out, is less annoying CRM. When people need an email marketing system and a CRM, there's different ones on my website, but it's a conversation I have with my clients to find out where they are now in their business, where are they going, and then I recommend the best one for them.
So it depends on the stage of the
yes.
business.
Exactly.
And okay, so that was one reference in terms of systems, and you mentioned something else, right?
Right. So the next part is, once you have the CRM in place, you need to know what you're going to say when you're going to follow up with people. What methods of communication? Are you calling? Are you emailing? Are you texting? Right? How often are you supposed to be following up, and how long? Like, when do you give up? And so that's where I come in. So I work with my clients once they have the CRM, so they know what to do and what to say at every step of the process. Right? Because people ask me all the time, how often should I be following up with people? Well, it depends on what you're following up about. It depends on when you met this person. Like, there's lots of factors that go into it. And so that's what I, coach my clients to do, so that they don't, because you don't want to follow up too much in too short a period of time, because then you'll show up being aggressive and salesy and you'll be repelling. So there's a fine balance between not letting too much time go by and not, following up too much.
Is it accurate to say that we should follow up in the same style that originally clients or prospects expressed their preference in? Like, for example, if they message you, you follow up via Messenger. If they email, you follow up via email. So it's kind of like you mirror their style, and sometimes even not only a choice of media, but also choice of style of communication, like if they more casual, etc. So could you just share a little bit about that?
Well, that's a great question. So I'm usually the one reaching out first, and I reach out in a few different ways, and I see how they respond. And then I find which is their best method of communication, because some people are really great with texting. Some people are better at social media, Facebook messaging. So I look and see, and then I ask, what's the best way, especially if we're having a conversation. I ask, what's the best way to be in contact with you? Some people prefer text. I find that the response rate from texting is super high, 90-something%. It's like but I call first because I'm an old-fashioned girl and I believe in picking up the phone and calling people.
That's probably the best way to follow up, if it's possible. Maybe it's not always possible, but if it's possible, personal connection, in-person connection is the best. Yeah. So I know that you mentioned how important referrals are, right? And so referrals really is so important to creating a thriving business. And why do you think that people don't really ask for them consistently? What's going on?
I've asked people, like, why aren't you asking for referrals? It's like a no-brainer. And they say a few different things. They say they feel they're coming across too desperate if they ask, like too needy. Some people say that I've already asked this person to become a client, and now I'm asking them for referrals. Like, that's just too salesy, too pushy. And research shows that when someone is referred to you, the chances of them saying yes to work with you increases by 300%. So it's so much easier to have someone say yes to working with you when they've been referred, because there's that credibility. The person has already told this other person how great you are, right? Your client has already said, I've worked with Debbie, she's amazing, you've got to talk to her. So when they come to you, they're so far along in what I call the discovery process, they're much closer to being a yes to working with you. So our clients love to give us referrals. It makes them feel really good when they've had great experience working with you and they refer you to somebody else who also has a great experience. We just need to know when to ask, how to ask, and how to train our clients what we want them to say when they're referring people to us. And so that's what I work with my clients on. I have a whole referral strategy, and it's critical. I had a client who brought in $100,000 in referrals from one colleague because we created a referral system for her. It's very powerful.
So Debbie, give us specific tips, because we cover a lot today. What would be the best time when you work with someone? What would be the best time in the process of your work? You're working with someone, your client. What would be the best time to ask for a referral?
Well, when you're talking to them and you're coaching them or whatever you're doing with them, and they're sharing about the great experience, like you're checking in to see how they're doing, they're sharing how happy they are, what great results they have gotten, what benefits they've received, that's when you would ask. But you have to ask in a very, very specific way, because most people say, who do you know who you can refer to me? And that's too broad, it's too general. No one's going to think of anybody. So my analogy is we all have a Rolodex in our heads. Remember those Rolodexes from way back? Well, when you are really, really specific about the kind of person you're looking for and what problem they have, people are going to go through their Rolodex in their brain and go, oh, I know somebody, right? So be very, very clear and do it when they're really happy, when they're sharing about how, what great results they've received working with you. That's like the best time.
Yes, because that's the moment when people really want to share the love, to share the great experience. And I like when you mentioned that you have to really describe what kind of people would benefit from your service, right? It's not just blank, give me a referral, but just say that, I think I could help such and such people, and just correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I do it. I usually describe what kind of people I tend to to serve and what I could do for them. And if they have this kind of people in their circle that could benefit from this service. So be very specific. Would it be fair to say that that's how you do it, like being specific, what kind of people you helping?
Yes, be very, very specific. If it's a woman over 50, if she's single or married or whatever, be as specific as you can. Also, a great way to ask for referrals, this is a great tip that I can share with your listeners, is to let your client know, or your power partner or JV partner, whoever you're asking for referrals, what that person would be saying, what they would be complaining about, to create an opening for you to make a referral. That's really powerful. So if you hear somebody, like for me, I say, if you hear someone say that they're networking online and they're not getting any results, or if you hear somebody say they're just so disorganized, they're afraid to call people and their business isn't growing and they're not enrolling clients, like that person would be a great referral for me.
That's a great tip. That's a great tip. So being specific really helps not only you, but it helps your client who wants to share your services to know who would be a good match for their services. Great tip. Look, Debbie, you've given us a lot to think about today, right? And I also know that you have some interesting training. I believe it's a free training that is coming up. So would you please share with us what exactly would be offered in this training? Just talk about this upcoming opportunity that you have.
Well, I have 2 master classes coming up next Monday and Tuesday. It's 3 crucial mistakes entrepreneurs make that cost them clients and money, and how to avoid them. So I'm going to be sharing what you can do to avoid making these mistakes. And I'm going to be going deeper into the topics we talked about today. So I'll be going deeper into preparation. I'll be going deeper into talking about systems and how you can be more organized. We'll touch on the limiting beliefs, and we'll go into referrals. So it's going to be a really in-depth training. I'm going to be opening it up for Q&A at the end. And also for people who stay on, I have a really fabulous gift that I'm so excited about to offer to everyone. And it will help them with what to say when they're following up, and a way to actually meet some heart-centered entrepreneurs to follow up with. So it's a bundle gift, basically.
Wonderful. And I am sure that after hearing your overview of how important the follow-ups are, and how you have to really do it in a certain way, not just win it, like you said, but you have to know what you do and how to do it so it will be effective. Many people will choose this option to join you for this free training. And I do have a link to register for this on the screen. And I know it's a little bit complicated link, so I just want to mention that it will be available in the description for this video. So don't worry, you will be able just to click on the link after we finish this video. So Debbie, thank you so much. The last advice that you could give to our listeners today that will make them really feel that knowing how to follow up, knowing how to sell without being salesy, is the essential part of their skill set that every entrepreneur must have. So any like last words that you would like to share, words of wisdom?
So I'd love to share that, we all have so much to offer to people. You wouldn't be listening to this interview today if you didn't. And the way that we're going to make the biggest impact and change a lot of people's lives is by having a process, a system in place to enable us to consistently follow up with people, and then to powerfully invite them to work with us, because that's another big problem that people share. They're so uncomfortable inviting people to work with them, right? So we have our gifts. My mission is to help you share those gifts, get your message out in the biggest way possible, make the impact you're here to make. You've got to have a system in place. If you don't, you're not going to be consistently enrolling new clients, and it's going to be so much harder. once you know what to do, what I teach is not rocket science. These are easy steps to take. These are easy strategies to implement in your business. You just need to know what to do. So come join me at the masterclass. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be sharing a lot of great information, and you can come prepared with questions that you have about follow-up and sales. And I'll be offering coaching at the end.
Debbie, thank you so much for sharing your experience, your knowledge, your wisdom. I really appreciate, and I'm sure that a lot of people will find it very, very helpful, especially if you are an entrepreneur, or maybe you aspire to be an entrepreneur. So follow Debbie's lead, and you have the link on the screen. We'll also put the link in the description of the video. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time, Debbie, and I appreciate all the listeners who join us today. I appreciate your time as well. And I look forward to seeing you next week, the same place, the same time, Wednesday, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, for another amazing interview with another expert that will always find the best people we can find for you to learn from. Thank you so much. Blessings.
Thank you
Take care.
so much for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.